Am I the a-hole for tossing a Father's Day gift for my ex-child? I, 45 male, have a daughter, Cassie, 19 female, with my ex-wife, Mary, 47 female, who cheated and left me for another man. When she showed up to the divorce hearing fully pregnant, I knew that there was no going back. She gave birth to her daughter, Jane, 14 female, with plans to marry the father, but he died in an accident when Jane was just a few weeks old. Jane's paternal side was extremely religious and shamed that her father was an adulterer, so they wanted nothing to do with her or her mother, and even went as far as to deny any blood relation because Mary was a woman of ill repute. Mary doesn't have any brothers and no father, so Jane grew up without ever really having a father figure. It was never explicitly stated, but Mary was hoping that I'd be in Jane's life, but blocked at every turn. She doesn't get to betray and discard me and then try to come back when things didn't work out. I've remarried and have my own family, but since Jane is Cassie's sister, I still make the effort to be nice. I don't take Jane with me in family trips, but I let her come to the house when Cassie has special events there. I only started becoming more distant towards Jane when she tried calling me dad a few times and Mary wouldn't intervene. Once Mary got a boyfriend, I was relieved to be left alone and aggravated when things didn't work out between them because Jane started trying to start a father-daughter relationship with me again. This past Father's Day, my family surprised me with a special lunch, and Jane managed to slide her way in there. I would prefer she leave, but I didn't want to make another awkward situation for Cassie and didn't raise a fuzz. When it came time to cards and gifts, Jane gave me a present and quick speech about how great of a dad I've been and shown her what it means to be a good parent. It was a touching speech, but I wasn't particularly moved by it. Because I felt put on the spot, I accepted the gift and let Jane give me a hug. Then, when the day was over and everyone was gone, I tossed it in a Goodwill box we have in the basement. My wife thinks that I should keep it even if I don't like it, but I don't want to send a message that there's hope for Jane that I'll be the father she's always wanted. Am I the a-hole? Edited to Ed. Again, because I keep seeing this in the comments. 1. I've told Jane not to call me dad, or think that just because I do things with Cassie that I'll do them for her. 2. I've talked to Mary about this more than once, but she's of no help. 3. I don't blame Jane for what her mom did, but I don't understand why I need to be a father figure in her life to prove it. 4. I don't even want to be a paternal figure for her because that would require a certain amount of time and labor that I'd rather give to my own children. 5. Mary and I weren't intimate for months during Jane's conception and there was a DNA test. There's no chance that Jane is mine. 6. Yes, I've only ever talked to Jane about this once. How many times do I need to tell her to make it clear? 7. I didn't even like the gift that she got me. Now for the top comments. This might be one of the saddest AITA I've ever read. I completely understand where you are coming from, but honestly, I feel like without you, that kid is going to end up in a real tough spot in life. I'm not qualified in any way to say who's an a-hole in this story, except your ex-wife. From my perspective, I would always try to help out a fatherless kid. This is really tough. Good luck to all of you. Every bit of this points to not an a-hole, but she's a kid. She's not asking for money, she's just asking for someone to take an interest in her. I get you're in no way obligated to Jane, but is being a good, safe adult in her life such a horrific burden that is a hard no? It might be, I don't know. But it certainly seems like she could use someone to care a little. Not an a-hole. But please, as an adult who used to be in Jane's position, just ask her one more time to stop calling you dad and advise your biological daughter to hang out with her in places where you are not going to be present. As time goes on, stop inviting her to gatherings altogether. It might hurt her, but this is the safest way to let her go, without causing serious amounts of negativity. When she gets older, she will most likely understand the reasons behind your distant behavior. Good luck, Opie. Not an a-hole. You shouldn't have to play house/dad for someone who left you for someone else. While it is sad what happened to Jane's dad, that doesn't mean you have to step up. You have your own life and children, and have made it clear that the relationship with Jane is solely for your daughter's sake. You did good by accepting the gift and thanking her in the moment. You have no obligation to keep said gift after. Agreed. While I feel sorry for the girl, what else is a person to do? That's not his kid, and Opie's doing a lot to not upset her or his daughter, but there should be a strong boundary set. Not everything in life is fair, and set out for us, we have to deal with the cards that we're given. It's not fair, but life isn't fair. This should have been nipped in the bud when she was a child, but I'm guessing this is all on her mother. Shaking my damn head. Not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out someone out of my birthday party for bringing an unwanted gift? So here's the backstory. Me, 30 female, and my ex, 32 male, Tony, broke up 8 months ago. The reason for this breakup was that I was fairly certain he was cheating on me with one of his friends, Tammy. He denied it, but honestly, even if he wasn't actively cheating, he was not invested in the relationship anymore because it was obvious he had fallen for her. Lo and behold, after our breakup, I moved out, and he almost immediately got together with Tammy. Now, I'm trying to be the bigger person and move the hell on with my life, but for some reason, both of them won't really let me do that. Tammy sends me memes, invites me to things, and when I tell her no or ignore her messages, my ex decides it's his turn to tell me I'm being mean to Tammy for no reason. To be clear, I'm not asking if I'm the a-hole compared to Tony and Tammy, because I know I'm not. They're being absolutely ridiculous. My question is, this last weekend was my 30th birthday party, aka a get-together at a bar with some friends of mine. The grapevine does its magic, and somehow Tammy finds out it's happening and asks if she can come. No, you cannot. Cute Tony poo-pooing me. I finally work up the nerve to block them both on every social media platform I can. I told my guests, hey, if Tony and/or Tammy show up, I'm making them leave. My 5 or 6 friends know them both and know the situation I'm in here. So Tony and Tammy don't show up, but you know what does? A personalized gift from Tammy that a different friend decided to bring on her behalf. Nobody else brought a gift. We were meeting at a bar. This friend, let's say is Roger, brought the gift in a bag and told me to extend the olive branch. To which I said, no effing way. Threw the gift in a trash can and told him that he can go home. I was so angry that it took a couple of minutes for me to calm down, but he ended up leaving in a big huff. The rest of the night was as good as can be expected. But I'm still very upset with Roger for doing this when I think it's abundantly clear that I don't want any contact with my ex and his girlfriend. Am I actually an a-hole for not only rejecting the gift and kicking him out? Am I losing my damn mind to this problem? Not an a-hole. They need to leave you the hell alone. Who the hell does she think she is? And who the hell does Roger think he is? This just seems ridiculous. If someone doesn't want anything to do with you, why force it? Yeah, this is insane. What Roger did was extremely foolish, and Tammy and Tony in general seem horrible. I don't think anyone would go to such lengths, unless it's to intentionally piss OP off. Not a a-hole. Maybe you were a little bit harsh with Roger, but the whole situation with the ex and new girlfriend is really weird. I would think your other friends would know better than to get involved like that. If Roger knew about the situation, he should have refused to pass along the gift. On another note, it seems like Tony and Tammy know they are a-holes and are trying to force a friendship on you because they don't want everyone else to think poorly of them. Threaten to get a restraining order if they contact you again. Good luck. My feelings exactly. Roger's between a rock and a hard place, so maybe kicking him out was a bit harsh, but he 100% could have handled this better. Just off the top of my head, he could have given you the gift after the party, or better yet, on an entirely different day. He could have let you know in advance that they reached out and would like to send a gift with him, and ask if you'd be okay with that. It does seem like he was used by these people and couldn't stand up for himself, but he could have at least worked harder to find a loophole. This is a good point. I guess I didn't think about how Roger might have been pressured into going along with things. He's not a bad guy, but he can kind of get swept in the why can't we all get along thing. So I can see how it'd be easy to convince. Oh, we just want to mend fences with OP. Please give this to her so we can all be buddies. In hindsight, I'm definitely planning on talking to Roger and explaining why this hurts my feelings so much. Hopefully he understands. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom to stop treating my brother like a kid? I, 21 female, recently had a big fight with my mom. My brother, 17 male, has always been my mother's favorite, and no, I'm not just saying this, but she tells this to everyone around her. So since we were kids, he has been coddled his whole life. He checks his computer, his phone, barges into his room without knocking, even tries to hand feed him at this age. Anyway, he is a teen, and now absolutely hates that he doesn't get his privacy/independence. Anyway, It's COVID and he had this date with a girl. In my place, COVID is handled good, so we can go to cafes if we follow the rules. My brother even told my mom about the date, and guess who followed him all the way? My mom. She sat in a booth nearby pretending to hide, and then my brother said he went to the bathroom and his date followed him. He said that he did it because he saw our mom there, and just wanted to kiss his date away from our mom's prying eyes. Anyway, they were therein for like 5 minutes when my mom barged in, physically separated them and yelled at the girl for ruining her baby, and that she was a bad influence. It got worse up to the point the girl called our family a bunch of creeps and left. My mom didn't stop. She was like, "Baby, did she hurt you? Are you okay?" And my brother, who never cried in public as a teen, called me crying to come pick him up because he was that embarrassed. I went and my mom wouldn't let him come with me because she said only she can calm her baby. That's when I told her he is calm and just freaking mad at her because she is treating her like he is 10, and that's embarrassing him. All this happened at the parking outside a cafe where my mom dragged my brother and his date out. And after I took my brother to my apartment, we talked and he doesn't even want to go back home because of many other incidents too. My mom is calling and texting saying I had no right to act like an a-hole and embarrass her in public. And even my dad says my way of handling the situation is completely wrong. I still refused to apologize, so does that make me an a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Sounds like he is done with how she is, and is trying to cut the apron strings. Yes, he loves her, but says that being home is suffocating. I keep telling mom that at this rate, he won't even contact her as an adult in future. That is very true. Her is mothering him to the point of treating him like a baby, and if it continues even after he moves, then he might go no contact. Not a hole. What your mom is doing is creepy and inappropriate and is going to ruin his life. I'm not being dramatic. Someone needs to help your brother set some boundaries with your emotionally incestuous mother now, and it seems like you're up to the task. Not a hole. One of the roles of an older sibling is to protect the younger one. Sometimes you have to protect them from your parents. You can suggest if he wants to go out again, you'll be the chaperone. You can tell your parents you two are hanging out. Technically true, and just make sure you're not being followed. This should give him cover until he turns 18. He won't like it, but who's the better tag-along? You or mom? Unfortunately, you will have to return him to your parents. Yeah, they're playing this card. He is 17, so he has to go back home, but he is going to be 18 in 5 months. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for favoring one of my twin nephews over the other, despite both twins telling me to stop? My sister, 36, has 4 teenage kids, all boys. The youngest 2 are a pair of fraternal twins, Alex and Brian, now 14. My sister has been regularly sending the twins over to my place whenever she needed a break since I moved near her 2 years ago. I, 26 female, do not have kids myself, but I love having them over. I'm particularly fond of them as I grew up babysitting the 4 boys for loads of spare cash. The only issue is that Alex is clearly my sister's favorite child, and everyone is aware of this. To be fair, he is the stereotypical good kid. Extremely smart, good-looking, well-spoken, and charismatic. Everyone loves him. Brian is more quiet, meek, less blessed in the looks department, but not a bad kid at all. But I seriously think there's a cruel streak in Alex. I caught Alex daring Brian to drink pee when they were 9. In quotes, because Brian confessed that Alex threatened to cut him out of their friends group if he didn't do it. I've personally heard Alex's horrible comments about Brian's weight, looks, intelligence, etc. when he thinks I can't hear them. Brian has also shared that Alex has been vandalizing his belongings, spreading horrible rumors at school. My sister absolutely refuses to punish Alex, or send him to any sort of therapist/professional who can help. She says it's just boys being boys, and it is not my place to override her parenting decisions. So I've been trying to balance out the favoritism while they're at my house. I usually ask Brian for his preferences in minor things, like picking out the dinner that I cook for them, the movies that we watch together. If Alex makes snide remarks, I shut it down immediately. But the more I speak up for Brian, the angrier Alex gets. It has gotten to the point where Brian just defers to Alex's preferences, and is asking me to get off this so that Alex doesn't take it out on him when they get home. I get where Brian is coming from, but I can't just let this go. My sister doesn't do anything about it. So Reddit, Am I the a-hole for consciously treating my nephews differently and not stopping even though they both want me to stop? Your sister allowing Alex to treat Brian like this hurts both kids. It seems like none of Alex's actions ever have consequences. That doesn't bode well for adults. Your sister won't be able to boys will be boys away if/when he gets arrested. All that being said, it seems like at the end of the day, you are currently making Brian's life harder. He has asked you to stop. You should stop. Try to find other ways to help him. Definitely don't give up. But what you're doing right now isn't helping. Your heart is in the right place, so not the a-hole if you respect Brian's wishes here. But you'd be the a-hole if you don't stop. As of right now, it's everyone sucks here except for Brian since you haven't stopped. Just because Opie's heart is in the right place doesn't mean they are handling the situation the right way. The way you need to address favoritism isn't with more favoritism, it's to stop it at its source. Opie needs to start documenting all of Alex's anger issues and tormenting, and present them to her sister as a wake-up call. And if she still won't do anything about it, talk to authorities or people at Alex's school that will. By trying to fight favoritism with favoritism, Opie is only giving Alex more ammunition to use against Brian when the two of them aren't at Opie's house. Everyone sucks here, except Brian. Everyone sucks here except Brian. Your sister should be managing her children better, but she has 4 teenage boys. As someone who raised only 2 boys, I can feel her pain from here. Still, she wouldn't allow one child to torment another. Alex is a bully. He may grow out of it, he may not. But he's also only a kid and should have clear boundaries with proper consequences. And finally, you're the a-hole for continuing getting Brian tormented. And possibly worse now that you're showing him favoritism. You know this is causing problems for him. Brian has asked you to stop. That's as close as he'll ever get to reporting his brother. If you really want to show Brian that you care, stop trying to show Alex that you prefer his brother. If you insist on doing nice things for Brian, do it in private. Ask him what some of his favorite things are while Alex isn't around. Then buy it before they show up and announce how much you enjoy it and want to share with both of them. Yes, it's manipulative and deceitful, but when dealing with someone like Alex, that's the only option you have. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I'd make her homeless if she didn't leave my wife alone? I, 27 male, have had my mother, 48 female, living in my house since September 2020. My wife, 27 female, gave birth 2 months ago to my son. Ever since my wife and I got married, my mother would make snide remarks at my wife. I was too much of a coward to call it out at first, but I believed, for a while, that it had officially stopped. Besides the unnecessary comments here and there. Edited to add, I stand up for my wife all the time. It's just that for the first year and a half of our relationship, I did cower away. I was afraid to lose my family, but the only family I needed was my wife. My wife and I had very busy schedules, so even though we lived together and were married, we rarely saw each other. She loved her job, but I made a selfish decision to ask her to leave it. She was hesitant, but agreed to it. She still makes money from her small business, but she obviously is now a stay-at-home. My mother ended up losing her home a couple months back. I live the closest and have the biggest home, 10-bedroom, so she came to us. My mother keeps making comments like, she needs a job. She's going to drain you of money? My wife would also come up to me and tell me to not say anything to my mother, that my mother needs somewhere to stay, and that she, my wife, can handle it. I've been in online conferences for the last 2 weeks, so I haven't had much time to spend with my son. For the past 3 days, I haven't had any calls or work to do, so I've been telling my wife to stay in bed and rest so I can look after our son. Yesterday, my wife was asleep in bed when my mother started screaming through our bedroom door, banging on it, calling my wife every name under the sun. When I ran into the corridor, she was screaming like a lunatic. My dogs, Blue Bay Shepherd and Siberian Husky, obviously got very defensive and backed her into a corner. I got into my bedroom and my wife was in the corner of the room crying with her head down. She was terrified. I ran to my mother and said that I'm going to kick her rolled butt to the curb. She wailed that I couldn't do that, but I screamed at her and told her to remember whose house she was in. She started to cry and I told her to pack up and get out by tomorrow. She started screaming, saying she had nowhere to go. I said that she could stay, but if she even looked to wife's direction, I'd kick her onto the street. Now my siblings are saying I'm the a-hole, and that I was too aggressive. I say that's total BS because how else was I supposed to react to seeing my wife terrified and scared in a corner? I told them to take her, but they say they don't want her stressing them out. The only reason I think I might be the a-hole is because she seemed scared when I yelled at her. That and because my wife is saying that she doesn't want my family to be mad at her, but I don't care. Now my mother is telling everyone my wife ganged up on her. The only reason I haven't dragged her out yet is because my wife says not to. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your siblings are hypocrites. They don't want their mom to live with them because she would stress them out, but are totally okay with her stressing you and your wife. Exactly. If any family member has a problem with it, then they can take her in. Not the a-hole. I got into my bedroom and my wife was in the corner of the room crying with her head down. She was terrified. If anything, what you did was underreaction to the abuse being hurled at the new mother in her own home. Your wife is being abused and afraid of more mistreatment, which is happening. Your reaction in support of her is everything it should be. Call them out for being toxic to a new mother. Challenge them to change or go low contact. Neither you nor your wife need that. Not the a-hole. She's projecting. You can suck it up all you want, it's up to you. But when anybody, be it mother, dad, or the freaking Pope badmouths your wife, your spine needs to shine. Period. Letting her disrespect your wife only shows that you're okay with it and don't respect your wife either. Your wife is a legend to put up with that for as long as she did, and you're too blind to even see it. Tell the a-hole siblings that you'll relay the message to mother that they are happy to take her in. Let them deal with her attitude instead. Update. She went for a walk, so I grabbed her stuff, threw it in a suitcase, and put it outside. My wife is currently cuddling with our son in bed. Told my brother that if he doesn't get her, she'll be spending the night outside of our padlock-secured gate. My wife has no idea. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that it is her fault that my mom called her the C-word? My mom and my wife hate each other. I spent a lot of time feeling like I had to pick my wife before I realized they are equally at fault and I should not have taken anyone's side. My mom babysat my kids the other night so we could have a date night. When we got home, my mom was asleep and my wife freaked out about how irresponsible that was. But a couple of important things. 1, the kids were also asleep and it was almost 11. 2, my stepdad was there and awake. 3, she was just resting with her head on his lap, so probably not even in a deep sleep. My wife screamed at my mom and called her a witch. My mom said my wife was acting crazy and then said, "Oh my god, you are such a C." My wife freaked out because that word triggers her and told them to get out. I thanked my mom for babysitting and hugged her, so we left on good terms, but my wife said that I should have defended her. I said she overreacted, didn't thank my mom, and if you call someone a witch, you might get called a name you don't like in return. My wife called my mother-in-law in the morning, and my mother-in-law lectured me about how my mom is irresponsible and the kids could have died, which I think is crazy dramatic. My wife and I sleep every night, and if one of the kids needs us, we wake up. My wife said that I should call my mom and lay down boundaries about how she can speak to her, but I said it is her fault for calling her a witch. OMG, you let your wife talk to your mom like that? Everyone sucks here. Your wife for treating your mother so abusively, and you for enabling it. Your mom is just a victim, as are your kids if they are witnessing this. Not sure what your mom and wife are like in other situations, but in this post your mom did literally nothing wrong. Your wife found a reason to nag, called your mom a terrible name after she was doing you a favor. And now by not shutting it down, you've enabled this crap to the point where your mother-in-law is lecturing you about your mom? Are you just never supposed to fall asleep then? Normally, I'm all about partners supporting each other, but your wife is on a different level. Like, I'm packing up and staying at my parents' house for a couple of weeks kind of level. This right here is the answer. You're the a-hole for letting your wife abuse your mother, who in this story did nothing wrong. Would you let one of your kids scream at your wife and call her names before hugging them and saying you guys are on good terms? Your parents are disappointed in you for allowing them to be abused, and sad for your kids living in this negative environment because they will pick up on the tension with your wife. The real question is, how much damage are you going to do to the kids and with your family before you decide to address the problems? I'm not jumping to leave your wife, but if you guys can't talk and this behavior continues, it's going to be ugly long term, and damage is being done now that may not be repairable. So, I'm a mom and didn't realize I was supposed to never sleep again. How does your wife handle never sleeping? Not day-hole. Look, I hate my mother-in-law. Know what I do? I don't ask for favors from people I hate. Your wife is a Nahal. She hates your mother but takes favors from her, and then attacks as soon as she thinks she found a reason to. I don't see why your mother will babysit since it will benefit your irrational wife. Also, the stepfather was present in the wake. In what reality would the mom be derelict in her duties? To me, the wife was spoiling for a fight, given their history, and she was grasping onto any excuse, however unreasonable it may be. Your position sounds reasonable, but wow. Can't imagine family members talk to each other like that. It seems very immature for both of these women. This kind of thing will affect the kids, and not in a good way. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my ex's emergency number to the woman pregnant with his niece? For context, my ex's married brother had an affair and got his mistress Olivia pregnant. Their family relies heavily on my ex to fill all of their problems, so has been the person to deal directly with Olivia and her family. I know all of this because my ex and I share a toddler together. So we have been living together during the lockdowns to make childcare easier and to work on things between us. My ex has an emergency number, which he only gives to a select few people. He only gave it to me after he found out I was pregnant. He made it clear I was only supposed to use the number in absolute emergencies, and not just because he wasn't responding fast enough on his regular number. So, my ex is on a business trip currently and isn't supposed to come back for at least another week. He's barely responded to my messages, so I'm assuming he's very busy. Olivia and her sister showed up to his house and demanded to see him. I explained he wasn't here, and she should call him if it's something important. She said he wasn't replying, and it was an emergency. I messed up by suggesting she call him on his emergency number since he responds a lot faster that way. They asked me for the number, but I didn't want to give it because he's super strict about that number, and I wasn't sure if he would get upset if I gave it out to people, so I refused. I offered to pass along a message if she would tell me what she wanted, but she told me it was a private family matter. They tried to convince me to give the number to them, but I kept refusing, and they eventually left after telling me I was an insensitive B-word, and that I didn't understand what it was like for Olivia, who is about to become a young struggling single mother. I felt bad after they left, so I told my sister about what happened, and she told me I should have just given her the number even if my ex got annoyed, since it might really be an emergency. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Why couldn't Olivia hit up the baby daddy for help or the emergency number? Best to stay out of other people's affairs. Pity you mentioned the secret number at all. He blocked her and won't speak to her at all since everything came out. Oh dear. The situation sounds quite unpleasant and Jerry Springer-like. Best avoid them in future if possible. Not the a-hole. Olivia isn't his problem, and he should probably stay out of that mess. If he wanted them to have the emergency number, they would have it. And if it was really an emergency, they would have told you what was going on so you could call. They would not have cared so much about privacy. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It wasn't your number to give. And I can't think of a true emergency that needs baby daddy's brother. Medical emergencies can be handled by doctors, etc. Are you sure it's the brother's baby? It seems weird to have your brother be the go-between and have a pregnant girl show up on his doorsteps on his brother's behalf. Yes, I'm sure. If the baby was his, he would take responsibility. Also, this isn't the first time he's had to fix things for his brother. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for lashing out on my husband for his reaction to our baby gender reveal? So, me, female 29, and my husband, male 33, have been married for 2 years. I'm now pregnant. First time, and it's been difficult. I have anemia, but I'm getting treatment. We went for the doctor's appointment to find out the gender of our baby. My husband was excited, although he repeatedly said he guaranteed it was a boy with no evidence to back it up. We entered the doctor's office and he didn't stop feeling nervous, making me nervous too. Once the doctor said it was a girl, my husband's face went red. He stared at the doctor, then started asking if she was sure 15 times. He asked if she was sure this wasn't a recording footage of her previous patient, which made me feel embarrassed because this was a dumb question. He has zero idea how ultrasounds works. The doctor laughed, but he asked her to check again, and even tried to act smart to point out that it's actually a boy, but the doctor got it wrong. I told him to stop, but he started lashing out blatantly, saying he wasn't expecting this, and was in fact disappointed with the results. I felt mad, especially after he told the doctor we will be seeing another doctor, then get back to her to tell her she got it wrong, because he guaranteed it was a boy. I waited till we got home. I lashed at him and told him he got no right to speak to the doctor like that and waste her time by getting her to check repeatedly. I said he embarrassed me, and he lashed back, saying he has a right to express how he felt and that he was disappointed. We argued. Then he went to call his mom to tell her, although I asked him to wait to do it together. I called him childish for immediately calling his mom and getting her to text me, like it's my fault. I told him I'm going to stay at my mom's for 2 days because this is too much. He asked, how is it childish for me to call my mom and vent a little, but totally okay when you pack to go stay with your mom for 2 days? I was speechless. What response could I possibly have for this? He started texting saying ultrasound wasn't a good idea, but he'll just wait till our baby is born to find out since tests can't be 100% sure anyway. He said he wasn't trying to blame me for being pregnant with a girl, but how I reacted to his reaction. He planned to have 1 kid and that's it, preferably a boy, but it didn't happen, so he was disappointed. Again argued that I overreacted and mishandled his gender disappointment. My sister said I was wrong because his reaction was understandable and that he's free to express how he felt, so I shouldn't try to control his reaction. We're from Canada, by the way, if it's relevant. Not a day-haul. I know people throw around sexist a lot, but if someone is this disappointed about having a daughter instead of a son, they're sexist. Also, you shouldn't have to leave, especially while very pregnant, just because he is being an a-hole. Also, your child being a daughter instead of a son is because his sperm gave the X chromosome, not Y. He could use an 8th grade biology lesson too. You're right, absolutely. He has an argumentative personality and is always ready to make a big deal out of everything. He told me the problem is that I shouldn't try to control how he reacts and that he has the right to express his feeling. And I'm not against that, but I think he's being unbearable with his behavior. There are things that he seems to be a bit ignorant about, but that I would not excuse, of course. He's throwing a hissy fits and insulting medical professionals because of his own sexism and ignorance, but he's pretending that the problem is somehow your response? Not an a-hole. This isn't an argumentative personality. This is a whole bunch of red flags at once. How do you think he'll respond once your daughter is born? He needs to accept that the baby is a girl before the birth, or else he might react extremely bad. I feel like he only reined in his anger because he is hoping that the doctor was wrong. Wow, does he not realize that his sperm determined the gender of the baby? It's his fault he's having a girl. Gasp. He is an ass and needs to get his crap together. It's one thing to have a little disappointed, let down when you get yourself hyped for one sex or the other. It's completely over the top to do what he did. Not an a-hole. Unless he can control the X and Y in his sperm, it is not his fault. It's nobody's. It is not even a fault. Run while you still can.
Am I the a-hole for giving my daughters 1 week to leave my house after what they did to their half-brother? I have 2 daughters, both over 20. They graduated college and moved back in with me because they couldn't find a job. The house is my late husband Robert's house. For context, their dad and I got divorced 9 years ago. I got remarried to Robert and had my 7-year-old son Tom. The girls didn't have a good relationship with Robert. In fact, they hated him because of what their dad filled their heads with about him. They lived with their dad, by choice, before going off to college. Robert passed away 6 months ago after a long battle with illness. It was just me and my son Tom. The girl's dad got remarried last year, and the woman is basically a witch. That's why the girls stopped visiting there. They lived in a rental apartment during college, and their dad used to pay the rent, but he stopped after his wife fought with them. The girls couldn't get a job to pay for rent and asked if they could move in with me and Tom for a while. I, of course, said yes, although I knew how they felt about Tom. They moved in, and they were nice to Tom but also distant. 2 days ago, I had an unexpected call and needed to leave the house. Tom was in bed all day because he was sick, and I asked the girls to look after him for 2 hours until I got back. I left quickly. Then an hour later, I got a text from Tom asking me to come home because he threw up again in his room. He said he called for his sisters to help, but no one responded. I immediately tried to call them, but both lines were busy. I did my best to come home early, thinking the girls weren't at home, but it turned out they were. One was downstairs the entire time. The other said she was using kitchen appliances, which is why she couldn't hear Tom. I was going to believe them until Tom said he tried to text them, but they didn't respond. I checked their phones after they tried to deny it, and he was right. His message was read, but there was no response. I blew up at them both and called them pathetic. They argued that I was making them act like they are the parent and placing responsibility on them. I knew this wasn't about that. They hated Robert, fine. That might be a little understandable. But Tom is a kid, and he has no part in all of this to be treated like that. I knew they neglected him on purpose. So I told them they have 1 week to move out, and they started arguing and even crying, saying I'm being too harsh on them and acting worse than their dad's new wife. I said this wasn't up for discussion, and now both of them are giving me the silent treatment, basically trying to make me feel guilty about the whole thing. Maybe I made the wrong decision, but seeing how they neglected their brother merely out of resentment and hate makes me feel upset and quite concerned about having them around him. Now for the top comments. If your daughters resent your late husband, fine, he's gone. But taking it out on his innocent child crosses a serious line. What's to stop them from ignoring or belittling him again when you're not around? You're setting a boundary and protecting your son's well-being. That's your job as a mother. I'd like to add a tangential point to your comment. They argued that I was making them act like they are the parent and placing responsibility on them. First of all, helping to take care of a sick family member is part of being a family member and sharing a home with them. Secondly, just like with the word narcissist, a bunch of people have read about parentification on the internet and badly misunderstood what it actually means and the situations it applies to. Parentification is when a child is forced to take on responsibilities that should be the parents', like managing finances, being a source of emotional support, or running the household. It is not asking a couple of 20-somethings to check in on their sick younger brother a few times over the course of a couple of hours when their parent is unavailable. 100% this. First, the girls are in their 20s. The idea that there is any parentification going on is laughable. Your adult daughters were living under your roof, a roof they don't pay a single dime to stay under. You asked them to watch a sick family member for a few hours so you could step out, so you could earn the income that pays the bills for the home they're currently living in rent-free. And they had the nerve to act like you were placing undue responsibility on them and trying to make them act like a parent? No, absolutely not. Maybe their stepmom isn't a witch. Maybe your daughters are just entitled young women, and their dad and stepmom got fed up. And now you're seeing it for yourself just how selfish they can actually be. Good on you for kicking them out. Nothing forces entitled people to face the consequences of their actions, like being held accountable. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to spend Mother's Day with my ex and his wife, celebrating her so our kids will? My ex-husband and I share custody of our 17-year-old daughter and 15-year-old son. We divorced 12 years ago and have co-parented with difficulty ever since. My ex is remarried, and there have been tensions between the three of us for most of that time. My ex's wife came in with huge expectations of what she would be to the kids and how involved I would be, and none of it was realistic. 1. She thought I would agree to giving my ex primary custody and that I would be a 1 weekend a month mom. When that didn't happen, she expected everything mom-related to be split equally between us, alternating Mother's Day, taking turns doing Mother's Day events at school or activities, and even changing who was listed as their mom on certain forms. And she genuinely believed that was something I would do, and that it would cause zero problems with schools and doctors. 2. She expected the kids to call her mom as soon as the wedding ring was on her finger and believed I would encourage, meaning force them to call her that. This was a long-standing expectation that was never met. Not once. 3. She expected to have the same legal authority that my ex and I have. She believed she could make certain decisions for the kids without my exes or my input, such as where they went to school, what doctors they saw, what summer camps they'd attend, and for how long. She also expected to choose a religion for them. 4. She wanted to change their last name to a hyphenated version that included hers, mine, and my ex's. She fully expected this to happen. There was more than a year of her throwing a tantrum because I shut the idea down. My ex's wife comes from money and is used to getting her own way. So not having her expectations met made her increasingly bitter toward me. She alienated my kids by being too pushy, controlling, and trying to change their lives to fit what she believed they should be. Case in point, she tried to get them into private school and pressured them to ask me. She wanted my daughter to be in cheer and music classes up to 6 times a week and wanted my son in football and boxing 6 times a week. My kids weren't interested in those activities, but she brought them along multiple times and tried to force them to participate. She told them that's what boys and girls did. She insulted the parents of my son's best friend and then tried to stop all contact between the 2 kids. She hated me for refusing to back her up. The kids hated her for all of this. While she was thinking of them as her kids, they were wishing their dad would divorce her. I know they asked him at least twice to do just that. When his wife found out, she blamed me. The kids make a point of spending as little time with her as possible. They don't appreciate her, and that bothers my ex and his wife. He and I have discussed it, but he told me they should appreciate her, and that I was bitter for not making them do so. He said she made their lives better, no matter what the kids think or say. My ex and his wife didn't have a child together until last year, and this upcoming Mother's Day is her first one as a mom. The day has always been a sore subject for her because the kids are with me, and she doesn't have anyone but my ex treating her like a mom. Now that she officially is one, she believed that would mean my kids would be with her on Mother's Day going forward. But they set the record straight, as did I when asked. Now my ex has come up with this insane idea that I should spend the day celebrating his wife and join in their Mother's Day celebration. He said she's worth celebrating. It's her first time having her own child on Mother's Day, and our kids should be there, but won't if I'm not. I shut his idea down hard and told him I would not spend the day with his wife. He tried to turn it into a fight, but I walked away from him and haven't answered his calls since. He sent a few texts telling me I need to reconsider, but I ignored those too, until he sent his sister after me. She told me it was petty of me not to even consider meeting in the middle, and then stated I was being rude about everything. She said I was the reason the kids didn't like their stepmother, and that with a half-sibling now, I needed to figure it out. I walked away from her too, but more texts from my ex followed. The only thing giving me pause is that my ex's family doesn't even like the new wife. So the fact that his sister said what she did is making me question, just a little bit, if I'm the a-hole. Screw her. And who gives a crap about her expectations? Also, how is this in any way your job? I'm still unsure of how it's my job. I suppose because I ruined her precious little expectations. Well, it's not, so stick to your guns. Your kids are of the age now that they are going to formulate their own opinions and ways of interaction with her. If your ex isn't careful, they can very easily decide at age 18 that they don't want anything to do with the woman at all. No advice, just wanted to say, not the a-hole. And thank goodness the kids are almost grown. Could you go to court next year once the youngest is 16, so they don't have to go visit them anymore? Unfortunately for the kids, that doesn't work. They need to go to their dads until they're 18. The judges don't need to weigh the wishes of 15, 16, or 17-year-olds. They can choose to, but it's increasingly rare right now. I had a witch of a stepmother and just wanted to say thank you for protecting your kids from your ex and his new wife. She has no right to Mother's Day, and they both sound seriously delusional. Keep on doing exactly what you're doing, and maybe now that she has her own kid, she'll back off yours a bit. Not the a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for taking my niece on a girl's trip because she couldn't go on her father's boys' trip? Pretty much what the title suggests. My brother-in-law decided he wanted to take my nephews out on a camping trip over the Easter holiday, and not my niece because it was a boys' trip. And he wanted to spend time with just his sons. It's a camping trip with tents and fishing and stuff. I don't know. I don't think he has ever spent alone time with my niece, ever. He'll show her how to fix cars, and they have a train collection thing together. Not the boys. They don't like it. And he'll take her to see horses and snakes because she likes them, but never her alone. I think he took her to the movies once and then snuck out halfway through. I don't have kids, so I can't really comment on whether it's right to have boys' trips and girls' trips. But it didn't seem right for him to leave his daughter home for nearly 2 whole weeks while he and his sons were out having fun. Maybe he could have spent a week with them and a week with her, and they'd both get their bonding time. But he hasn't decided to do that for whatever reason. Anyway, my friends and I have been planning our girls' trip for a while now. Like, years. None of us have kids, and most of us are single. So it was really no problem coordinating our annual leave so that we could take our friend's caravan around the countryside, and at some point go to Legoland together. I brought up the idea to my friends, and they all seemed pretty on board with having her along, and so was my sister, obviously. She works over Easter. I think she was just happy that she wouldn't have to look into having a babysitter every day, and that my niece would be able to have fun during the week. I paid for the ticket so that her husband wouldn't cause her any trouble. This didn't really work because he called me and started tearing into me, saying that I was ripping his family apart, and that just because he isn't bringing her along doesn't mean he loves her less because she's a girl. I never implied that. He came up with it on his own. He said it's perfectly fine for a girl to like these things, but sometimes boys just need to spend time with their fathers. And yes, I agree, I guess. So I don't know why he's upset that girls also need to spend time with other women. He said it was unfair that I'm straight up taking her to a theme park, and that it's not the same thing as a camping trip. And now his sons are jealous. I know he's full of it when he says that, though, because when his daughter was interested in joining the Girl Guides or the Scouts, he refused and only let my nephews join. I don't know why he let her tag along with them if he was going to do this. I mean, he's the one who got her interested in all that camping and fishing stuff and enrolled her in football, so I don't know why he's only taking his sons now. I mean, I get why it was a boys-only trip. My nephews are that age. My niece is approaching it. It makes sense they didn't want her along if they're swimming around in menswear and sharing the same tent. I don't have anything against that. But 2 whole weeks with her alone at home? My sister and him got into a pretty bad argument about it, where she basically said that if my nephews could spend time with men, then there was absolutely no reason that her daughter couldn't spend time with women, and that it would be good for her. And that, with her being the youngest and the only girl in the family, she needed bonding time with women more than the boys anyway. After that, she basically repeated everything he said before back to him. My sister won, so when he and my nephews left for their trip, my friends and I picked her up. She liked the trip. We didn't really know anything about fishing or anything like that, but she did, and she really enjoyed trying to teach us. I think she mostly liked the praise and the attention of 5 other women, but there's nothing really wrong with that, and she was extremely well behaved the whole trip. So, quite frankly, we're all glad she came along. The problem is that now that she's gotten back from her trip, she's practically been iced out by her brothers and father. She doesn't seem to really mind. My sister says she's pulling away from video games and football and all the stuff they used to do together, and is now concentrating on other things. We gave her an old DS since she mentioned that her brothers often played on the PS5 without her anyway, because they have the same tastes and only 2 controllers. Then her ignoring them back has gotten them even angrier, especially since she and the youngest brother shared a friend group that she has now basically ditched for a group of other girls. My sister says it seemed at one point like the boys tried to get her to join in a game, but my niece is straight up refusing to play with them at all, and told them that football was a boring sport for boring people, and that's restarted the whole thing. But given they weren't exactly letting her join in before either, with football or the PS5, even before the trip, she says there's not much of a difference, except that my niece doesn't tag along watching them play anymore. I don't know. I think I was right in doing this. Her behavior has improved. My sister says my niece has never been this happy before, and I'm glad she was able to spend some time with other women and is now managing to have friendships with girls her age. And I'm glad my sister didn't have to be stuck at home doing all the child rearing while her husband was out having a holiday. I know boys' trips are important and all, but I think girls' trips are too. And given that she didn't really have any female friends her age, prior to this new group, or any female figures other than her mom, I think it was really necessary to bring her along. But I guess taking her to the theme park as well was a step too far, and I guess I'd be annoyed if I had to sleep in a tent while my sister went off to a theme park. Mostly, I feel bad about driving a wedge between her and her brothers, and I guess that it seems like she's let go of all her actual interests in favor of more girly ones, which I really do feel bad about, because I think she's mostly doing it to fit in with the girls in class instead of actually enjoying it. And also about leaving behind my nephews, since they had to go on a basic camping trip while their sister went to an actually cool theme park. But I don't actually think they would have enjoyed going with my girlfriends. And we definitely spoke about really private girl stuff with my niece. They would have been really uncomfortable with that, I think. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. This guy sounds like he is projecting hard. I encourage your poor sister to attempt couples counseling because he sounds like he is very manipulative. Your poor niece too. What the heck is wrong with a holiday over the same period with her mom and aunt? I'd love to know what his response would be if asked that point blank. His main problem is that we took her to Legoland as well. Their family doesn't really go to theme parks at all, except for really special occasions. They've gone like 2 times in their whole lives. Which is why I think her brothers are annoyed and betrayed too. And also, that it seems I've excluded her brothers just to spite him. He wants to exclude his daughter from a 2-week trip, but he's butthurt his daughter got to go to a theme park? He's full of it. He's either butthurt because he's being a misogynistic and trying to poison his boys against her, or he's butthurt because he took them camping and you took your niece to a girls' trip. Whatever his petty reasons are, he's just being a giant a-hat. You didn't drive a wedge between the siblings. Their dad did. Bringing your niece along with you on your holiday was extremely generous, and it was a trip that she will likely never forget. It seems that she returned feeling more valuable and having achieved a greater sense of self, if that makes sense. Hopefully her brothers will eventually stop punishing her, and her father will stop blaming you as well. Not the a-hole.